At least 24 people are dead and dozens more injured after a train in Mexico City collapsed last night. Officials say at least 4 people are still trapped under the bridge. Many local residents say they had concerns about the infrastructure, but no one responded to their complaints. Will Grant from our partners at the BBC reports.
Residents of Mexico City are all too accustomed to these scenes. Emergency services working through the night, attempting to reach injured victims trapped beneath the rubble. But this wasn't another earthquake in the Mexican capital. Rather, it was an overpass in the city's busy subway system. It collapsed as a train travelled over it, bringing a tangle of wreckage, concrete and metal crashing onto the cars below. At that hour, the train will most likely have been taking workers home after a late shift, a quiet night turning into tragedy in an instant. It was a desperate, agonising situation for their families.
My daughter-in-law called us. She was with my son, and she told us that the structure fell down on top of them.
My brother came with his wife, and they managed to get her out, but he was crushed in there, and we don't know anything. They don't give us reports. Now they have to get him out, but who knows how long it will take.
Also on the scene was the city's mayor, Claudia Sheinbaum, addressing the public as the picture got steadily grimmer. I urge any family who fears they had relatives on the train to contact the emergency response team here or at one of the hospitals, she said. This was the newest, most modern line in Mexico's subway, Line 12, unveiled less than a decade ago. An incident like this might have been expected on one of the older lines built in the 1960s, but supposedly not on Line 12. Yet many have said there were issues with its construction from the start, among them local residents who complained about the endless expansion of the subway across this sprawling city. Many of the tough questions ahead will be directed at the city's former mayor, Marcelo Ebrard, now Mexico's foreign minister. He championed Line 12, and on Twitter he said he would fully comply with the investigation into what happened. But such investigations will have to wait. For now, the city is solely concerned with rescuing those trapped, attending to the injured, and comforting the bereaved. Will Grant, BBC News, Mexico City.
Joining me now from Mexico City with more is CBS News radio correspondent Adrienne Bard. Adrienne, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Now, I know it is still early into the investigation, but do we have an idea of what led to this collapse? Because this is a relatively new structure, isn't it?
Well, it was built in 2012, Tanya. We do have some ideas because, as you said, there are a lot of complaints about that this particular metro line. And just this morning, I heard the leader of the Metro Workers Union saying that he had warned authorities, they had warned them on several occasions that these trains might be too big and too heavy for the tracks. So that's one of the possible theories. And another one is the damage that was caused by the big earthquake in 2017.
And how is the mayor of Mexico City responding to this disaster?
Well, you know, she was on the scene very early, and she had to make a lot of decisions, Tanya, because there were people, they had to sort of see how many people were trapped inside that were still alive. The problem is one of the trains was teetering, so the mayor had to make a difficult decision at a certain point to halt the rescue operation because it wasn't safe for the rescue workers and people on the ground. She did say at that time that there were no people alive inside the train, but again, a lot of responsibility on Mayor Claudia Sheinbaum's shoulders at this time, both for the rescue effort as it on goes and to find out and get to the bottom of this.
Absolutely. So devastating. Now, we do know that this accident has turned from a rescue mission to a recovery one. What do we know at this point about the victims, so many people who lost their lives?
Well, you know, 6 million people use the metro in Mexico City every day, and they're working class people. These might have been people coming home from work late at night. You know, we do know that there were let's see, the bulk of them were men, but I believe there were 19 women and there were 3 children, which is, of course, devastating. I heard one survivor who walked away just with bruises talking about how awful it was when he was inside the train and he actually saw a child who was trapped and apparently already dead in between some of the debris and the chairs. So really, ordinary working people, and hopefully there's going to be the appropriate aid for them and their families as they struggle to get well, because a lot of people are very seriously injured, Tanya.
All right. Well, Adrienne Bard, thank you so much for your reporting. I'm sure we'll be checking in with you again later. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.